Hey Jib, today is the 1st of August 2020, Hachikatsu, and today we played on Animal Crossing together. We caught a ray and we caught a giant clam, giant clam, and some other creature as well, and it was good fun. They kept running away underneath the ocean floor, and we kept chasing them, and they kept getting away, and you thought it was really funny, and it was a nice moment. So we did that, and then today also is your yearly Taikai at summer Taikai at Kendo, and so we was talking a little bit about that, and then Okar sent me some pictures and some videos of your Taikai, and then I watched them, and I was very amazed at how good you're getting, and I'm very proud of you. And yeah, I did try to phone you, but I think it was a bit late by the time. It was about 8:40, so maybe you was in bed. But yeah, well done for that. Very, very amazing job. And yeah, I thought I'd do some more reading for you. Okay. So here we are. So we're going back to chapter 3, and it's called Bump. So the porter wheeled the trolley Tom was lying on into the hospital lift. The old misshapen man hummed quietly to himself as he pressed a button for the top floor. Tom hated being alone with him. It wasn't as if he had done anything scary, he just looked scary. The boy had never seen anyone so spectacularly ugly before. Yes, there were teachers at his posh boarding school that were so unfortunate looking they had been given cruel nicknames by the boys, but none of them were as scary looking as the porter. What have we got here? These were the teachers, I guess. These were Mrs. Rabbit, the Dome of Doom, Mr. Dead Squirrel on his head, and it looks like a squirrel, the Hairy Gnome, Mrs. Goggle Eyes, Dr. Octopus, Mr. Clown Shoes, the Dinosaur, Miss Hooter, I guess that's because she's got a big nose, and Professor Comb Over because he combs his hair over. Ping! The lift doors closed. The porter smiled at Tom, but the boy looked at the other way. He couldn't bear to look at the man. He seemed even creepier when he smiled. Those rotten and misshapen teeth looked like they could crunch through your bones. Tom's eyes scanned the man's name badge. What does it say on his name badge? It just says Porter. Unlike the nurse and the doctor he had already met, his badge didn't have a name on it, but just the man's job. As the lift trundled slowly upwards, Tom's world gradually began to take shape. Little by little, he began piecing together the events that had brought him here. It had been a blazing hot summer's day, and he had been playing cricket on the school pitch. The boy lifted his head slightly and looked down. He was still wearing his cricket whites. Despite his school priding itself on always coming top in the cricket and rugby in the country, Tom wasn't good at sports. The school celebrated all its sporting heroes with cups and trophies and medals and special mentions by the headmaster in assembly. A boy who much preferred to hide himself away in the corner of the school library with some dusty old books like Tom could easily feel like a nobody. Ugh. Trying to hold this book because it's so chunky. Tom was miserable at school and would wish the time away. If only the days and nights would pass quicker, he would often think to himself. The boy was only 12, but he managed to leave childhood behind forever. Then he would be grown up and would not have to go to school anymore. The school played cricket in the summer, and Tom immediately discovered the best part of the game for the reluctant sportsman, fielding. The boy would always place himself at the very far edge of the pitch, so far out that Tom could indulge in his favourite pastime, daydreaming. So far out, he could daydream the afternoon away. So far out, there was little or no chance of the heavy red leather ball ever coming your way. Well, that was Tom's thinking. This time he was wrong, very wrong. As the number of floors flashed past in the lift, the last thing Tom remembered flashed past in his mind. A heavy leather ball. I'm losing my microphone grip. Flying through the air towards him at terrific speed. Thud. Then everything went dark. Ping! "This is your stop, young sir. Top floor, home of Lord Funt's Hospital Children's Ward," slurred the porter. As the lift doors opened, the trolley was rolled out. The porter pushed Tom down yet another long corridor before a pair of tall doors banged open. Bang! The pair was inside the children's ward. "Welcome to your new home," said the porter. Chapter 4. The Children's Ward. Tom raised his swollen head a little to take his first look at what was his new home. The children's ward of Lord Funt Hospital. There were 4 other children in the ward. They were all sitting or lying on their beds. All were silent. No one paid this new boy much attention. Boredom hung in the still, stuffy air. It was more like an old people's home than a children's ward. In the nearest bed was a plump-looking boy in an old pair of spotty pyjamas that were too small for him. He was flicking through a dog-eared picture book of helicopters and sneakily munching on some chocolates he had hidden under his bedsheet. "Hello?" George was chalked on a blackboard above his head. "That's like your cousin name. Uncle Ed's son, Uncle Ed and Auntie Hannah's son is called George." So here's some pictures. Look at all these poorly people. There's George. Chocolate underneath there. And that one is Robin. Robin looks like he's got a bandage on his eyes and he's got books underneath his bed. Oh my goodness. And there's Amber looking very strung up and looking like she's broken lots of bones. And there's Sally. I think we talked about Sally a little bit before. Next to him was a short little boy with neatly combed ginger hair. I guess that must be Robin. He must have had an operation on his eyes. As they were covered with bandages, so covered in fact that it would be impossible to see anything. A tall pile of classical music CDs and a CD player sat on his side table. I guess. The boy's pyjamas were much smarter than George's, and he wore them neatly with the top button done up. Like that. Over his bed in chalk was the name Robin. Across the ward from him was a girl with a bob of black hair and round glasses. Hold on, I'm a bit uncomfortable. 1 second. Sorry about this. It's not comfortable and I can't. Oh, there we go. So across the ward from her was a girl with a bob of black hair and round glasses. Startlingly, she had both her legs and arms in plaster. All 4 of her limbs were being held aloft by a complex series of pulleys and winches. She looked like a puppet on strings. On her blackboard it read Amber. Then, in the far corner of the ward, away from the other children, Tom noticed a sorrowful figure. It was a girl, but it was hard to tell her age as it looked as though her illness had weakened her. A few Wispy strands of hair sat on her top of her head. Above her bed was chalked the name Sally. "Say hello to everyone, young sir," prompted the porter. Tom felt shy, so he muttered, "Hello," as quietly as he could get away with without being told to repeat himself. There was a vague murmur of hello in return, though Sally remained silent. "This must be your bed right here," slurred the porter as he wheeled the trolley over. Expertly, the boy was rolled from the trolley to the bed. "Are you comfortable?" asked the porter, plumping up a pillow. Tom didn't answer. It wasn't comfortable at all. It was like lying on a concrete slab with a brick for a pillow. Even the trolley was uncomfortable. It was stupid for Tom to pretend not to hear the porter, as he was standing right next to him. The man was so close that Tom could smell him. In fact, the boy was so sure the whole world could smell him. Blech. The man was rather pongy, like he hadn't washed for quite some time. His clothes were tired and worn. His shoes were falling apart, and his work overall was thick with grease and grime. He looked like he might be homeless. "So this is the world's worst cricketer," came a voice. The children in the ward tensed and shivered at the sound. Then a tall, thin lady stepped out of her office at the far end of the room. It was Matron, the senior nurse who was in charge of the ward. Slowly and surely she made her way down the row of beds towards Tom, her high heels clunking on the floor. From a distance, Matron looked like she was beautiful. Her long blonde hair had been sprayed perfectly in place. I guess that's hairspray. Her face was shiny with makeup and her teeth were sparkling white. However, when she got nearer to Tom, the boy realized that her smile was fake. Her eyes were two large black pools, a window into the darkness within. Matron's perfume was so sickly sweet it burned the children's throats as she passed by. You are meant to catch a cricket ball, not header it," said the lady. Stupid child. Ha ha ha." No one laughed except her. It certainly didn't sound funny to Tom, whose head was still throbbing. The cricket ball was a very nasty bump. Madame Matron slurred the porter. His voice was cracking a little, as if he was nervous of the woman. "I think, young sir, should have an X-ray first thing in the morning." "I don't need your opinion, thank you," snapped Matron. In an instant, her voice didn't seem that beautiful after all. It was twisted and into a snarl. "You are nothing more than a lowly porter, lowest of the low. You don't know the first thing about caring for patients, so in future keep your mouth shut." The porter lowered his head and the other children exchanged nervous looks. It was clear that this lady intimidated them all too. With a flick of the head, Matron brushed the porter aside and he stumbled a little to steady himself. Let me look at this bump," she said as she peered over the boy. Yes, that is a very nasty bump. You should have an X-ray first thing in the morning." The porter rolled over his eyes at Tom, but once again the boy didn't react. Without even so much as glancing at him, Matron said to the man, "Porter, you may go before you stink out our ward." Oh, cool. Not very nice. The porter sighed before giving a brief smile and nod to all the children. "Quickly," shouted the woman, and then and the man limped off as fast as he could, dragging his withered leg behind him. Tom began looking to the back at the school. Tom began longing to be back at school. The children's ward seemed an utterly miserable place. And the next chapter will be Pink Frilly Night Dress Boy, but I'm going to do that one next time. Right. So that was a bit of a short one because Toy's really sleepy. I'm sorry, but I will definitely record some more soon. Just want to wish you well and tell you I love you and tell you I'm always thinking of you. Okay? I hope life's going well for you. Bye.